Have you heard about the PMP exam? You might already know about it. It's the most widely known project management certification in the world with over 1 million credential holders. This certification can absolutely transform one's project management outlook, one's career. I got certified in 2005, and since I got certified, I have seen this certification transform my project management outlook in leaps and bounds. Within a few months of getting certified, my salary doubled. Within a year of getting certified, my salary had gone up 300%. Now, not every certification can do that for you, can it? And that is why I find the PMP exam to be a career-defining certification that every project manager may want to investigate, may want to look into. So the purpose of this presentation today is to show you the 10 steps to PMP exam success. So let's get started and take a look at these 10 steps. 10 steps to PMP exam success. Step 1, exam details check. Are you eligible for this exam? Do a feasibility study check. Is it even feasible based on your schedule and based on what is going on in your life right now? And then when you have finally decided to go ahead, you want to schedule in that decision about when you are going to take the exam. So let me give you a little bit of guidance on these points. How do you know if you are eligible to take the exam? I would recommend download the PMP handbook. The handbook is being shared on the screen right now, and you want to look at the section that is called eligibility criteria. In the eligibility criteria section, you'll find out if you're eligible to take the exam or not. Here are the exam eligibility requirements. It's either you've got a bachelor's degree or the equivalent, or you've got a secondary school degree or an associate's degree. A secondary degree, which is known as a high school diploma, or an associate's degree or global equivalent. Let's take a look at both of these options. If you have what they've termed as a secondary degree, a high school diploma or secondary school diploma, whatever you call it, the PMI is looking for 5 years, which is 60 months of unique, non-overlapping project management experience. What do they mean by non-overlapping? By non-overlapping, they mean you cannot double count overlapping projects. So if you worked on 5 projects within a space of 1 month, that is 1 month. You cannot count each project as 1 month of experience. That's what they mean. In addition to this, the PMI is also looking for 35 contact hours of formal education. Now, one thing to note about these 60 months is you cannot go back more than 8 years. For example, if you're applying for the PMP exam today, being March 14th, you cannot go back more than 8 years. March 14th, 2020, going back more than 8 years would be, for example, March 12th, 2012. That experience will not count. So anything before March 14th, 2012 will not count. For that reason, it is very important that you time sending in your application so that all the time you've put into your application does count and nothing is disqualified. The second category, for those who have a degree, bachelor's degree or global equivalent, is 36 months and 3 years of non-overlapping project management experience, within which 4,500 hours was spent leading and directing the project. So they'll be looking for 35 contact hours as well from this category. So it's either you fit into this category or this category. And if you fit into those categories and you have the amount of experience required, then you are eligible to take the exam. As you read this handbook, do note, you cannot go back more than 8 years when you are calculating time spent on projects. As you can see up here, it says, all project management experience must have been accrued within the last 8 consecutive years prior to your application submission. And what they mean by consecutive is consecutive immediately before now. So you cannot count experience before 2012 on this date, for example. And that is step 1, the eligibility check. Now, let me ask you, is it feasible? Based on what you know about your schedule, do you have enough time? Typically, the PMP exam will take you upwards of 100 to, some people spend 300 or 400 hours studying for this exam. Can you put in the time? If you can put in the time, I would say consider it. The sweet spot as far as scheduling that decision to take the exam is usually anywhere from 2 months to 6 months. From the time you begin preparing to the time you take and pass the exam is typically 2 to 6 months from what I have seen. Now, there are some outliers, some anomalies. Some people spend a lot less. Some people may spend weeks or a month. But in general, as a rule of thumb, you want to put aside anywhere from 60 to 180 days. Step 2, sign up for a course. Get your PMBOK guide and get your study aids. Now, what do I mean by your study aids? For this exam, you're going to need a number of books. This is the Project Management Body of Knowledge Guide called the PMBOK Guide. This is the Agile Practice Guide. And if you were to study with me, I will ensure that you get our study guide. And our study guide breaks down the content in the PMBOK guide into easier to understand language. So you got 756 pages here, you got 500 plus pages here, and in the last one, you got 100 plus pages in the Agile Practice Guide. So there's quite a lot for you to read and study, but I would say get your materials as soon as possible. The moment you decide to do this, you want to immerse yourself and begin to think and hear things about this exam and the content. So if you go to our channel, in fact, why don't you just hit subscribe and like for this video so that you can come back and listen to it over again as you make your decision to take this exam. Let's move on to step 3. Step 3, engage with a mentor. Someone like me, I've been training this since 2005. A little bit about me on the screen here. I got certified in 2005. My name is Phil. I've been training companies worldwide. Some of the clients I've trained include NASA, the FBI, US Army, the Army Corps of Engineers, Phoenix PMI chapter, Johnson Controls, Shaw, one of Warren Buffett's companies under the Berkshire Hathaway umbrella, the US Air Force out in Europe, the United States Army Corps of Engineers, and many more companies. Why is this certification so important? Well, take a look at the jump. From 1984, we had just 40 PMPs, and take a look at 2020. We have over 1 million PMPs in the world today, and that is why this certification is so important for project managers today to consider. Step 4, study a chapter every 1 to 2 days. You might get done in a day with a chapter, you might get done in 2 days. Step 5, take quizzes daily. You want to keep that mind sharp. You want to keep that content flowing. You don't want stagnation. You want to keep going. And before you know it, the ideas, the tenets of the PMBOK guide, the mindset behind the exam will all come together for you. Step 6, on completion of that course, take a mock exam of 200 questions. The course on Praizion.com has got a 200 question mock exam that will test you, that will find out your readiness. Go to www.praizion.com and check out the details regarding our project management training. Step 7, obtain your certificate of completion from your course. So whatever course you go for, you should be awarded a certificate of completion, a certificate of participation. You will need that in the event of an audit. 10% of applications are typically audited at random, and if you are audited, you will need that certificate. Step 8, set an exam target. Going back to your very first decision, at this point, you've now got some more clarity about the exam. It's a perfect time for you to fine-tune your focus. And if you've gone off a little bit, then you might want to push your exam back. But if you have made amazing progress, it might be time to consider to move your exam forward, as many students of mine have done in the past. After your application has been approved, your exam date is set, you want to begin studying deeper. This could be anywhere from 30 to 60 days, but narrow down your focus, buckle up your shoes, pull up those socks, and boom, go for the big finish. Schedule the exam at the Pearson VUE Test Center. Take the exam and pass the exam. It is absolutely doable, and I've got no doubt in my mind that you absolutely can ace the PMP exam. So what are you waiting for? Download the handbook that I have below. Check out all the information in the PMP exam content outline and go for it. But some of the things I wanted us to talk about today were, who is the PMI? It's the leading global association for the project management profession. They were founded in 1969, and they pretty much put this profession largely on the global map. No other organization has such a diverse and wide footprint as the PMI. What is the PMP exam? It's a 200-question multiple choice exam with 25 pre-test questions that, if at the end you succeed, you will be given the PMP designation. How do you get started on your PMP application? The answer I'm about to show you right now. The way to get started is to begin to document your experience across the 5 domains of project management. Every project has an initiating set of processes. What is initiating? It's the authorization of the project and the identification of the stakeholders. Planning is the next process group. This is where you plan schedule, cost, scope, risk management, procurement management, stakeholder engagement, and everything else. Then you execute the plan in executing. You monitor and control the project, and then you close the project. So everything you do on a project can be put into one of these buckets. They're not necessarily sequential buckets, but they're used to categorize and group what you did on the project. Now, as you use this to categorize what you've done on the project, the PMI is looking for you to document how many hours did you spend on project 1 in initiating, in planning, in executing. Now, it's okay to have zeros on some projects, but in the grand scheme, when you look at all of the projects overall, there must be at least some amount of experience in each of these 5 overall. So project 1, assume you had no initiating, that's fine. But as long as you've got initiating somewhere else, that's okay. How should you document the details? you've got 550 characters today. Now, this could change. If you are taking the exam, July 1st, 2020 forward, be sure to look for all the updates and the latest and greatest information, because this could change. But right now, there are 550 characters per project. Let's take a project, for example. The best way to document your experience is to keep it brief and take out all the technical detail and keep it to project management. You want to document the initiating, the planning, the executing, the monitoring and controlling, and the closing, what you did. Taking a look at this example, you see it is free of technical information. Assisted the project sponsor in creating a business case and developing the project charter. Also created a stakeholder register. You can see that the information is very project management specific across all of the domains. And that is what I would recommend as you put together your information. Now, in addition to these process groups in project management, there's another concept that you need to be aware of. It doesn't have anything to do with your application, but I do want to introduce you to this concept. It's the concept of dividing project management processes, not only by process group, but also by what we call knowledge areas. But before I talk about knowledge areas, I want to call your attention back to process groups. Here's a mnemonic to remember these 5 process groups. Do you remember any of these process groups without looking at the screen? Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. But I have a very simple mnemonic. I prefer extra money cash. No credit cards, no checks. We don't want them to bounce, right? It's a simple mnemonic. I prefer extra money in cash, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Let's move on to the knowledge areas. Now you know the process groups. Moving on to the knowledge areas. These are areas of knowledge that you can divide processes of project management into. The very first is known as integration. This is what the project manager does all the time. Coordinate and integrate. Coordinate, integrate, communicate. Coordinate, integrate, communicate. Report, monitor and control, integrate everything together. Get the project moving along in one cohesive whole. This is what the project manager does. The next thing is scope management, identifying all the work that has to be done and managing just that. The next is schedule management, developing a project schedule. It could be in Smart Sheets, it could be in MS Project, it could be in SAP, it could be in any scheduling tool, it could even be in Excel. The next step is cost management, estimating task costs and budgeting the final total. Now, bear in mind, even though we have these in sequence, they don't always flow in sequence. They might be happening simultaneously. The next knowledge area is quality management, identifying quality targets and meeting them. The next knowledge area is resource management. This deals with planning and managing resources, human, equipment, material, supplies, and facilities. Next is communications management, planning and managing communications. Think about the 5 W's. What are we communicating? When are we communicating? Who are we communicating it to? Where are we communicating? Why? And the H, how. The next knowledge area is risk management. This is all about planning how to manage risks and how to manage those uncertainties, positive or negative, that can impact the project. Next is procurement management, managing contracts and procurements. And last but not least, we have managing stakeholder engagement. Now, as I told you, project management can be sliced and diced in a variety of ways. And these ways we divide project management, they all lead to the same grid. I want to give you an image of how these all come together. They all come together in a grid. So let me give you a very quick illustration of this. Imagine a knowledge area such as integration management, broken out on the left-hand side of the screen. This is integration. Integration is on the horizontal, but on the vertical, we have initiating, planning, executing, and so on in that direction. Now, where integration and initiating intersect, we have a process known as develop project charter. And that is the first process of project management identified in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. And this is where we authorize the project. It's called Develop Project Charter. But at the same time, integration, the knowledge area, also intersects with planning. And there we have a process known as Develop Project Management Plan. And this is where we assemble all subsidiary plans of schedule, cost, scope, procurement, and everything else to give one cohesive, full project management plan. Executing also intersects with integration, and we have a process known as direct and manage project work. And this is where, theoretically speaking, the schedule is manifested in the execution of a deliverable. So in other words, you are working to the schedule, you're working to the plan, you're working to the requirement, you're working to every specification to create a deliverable. And that's why it's integration. It's a melting pot of many knowledge areas to produce the deliverable, the final deliverable that hopefully the client, the customer will accept. The second thing that happens in executing that flushes with integration is known as manage project knowledge. And again, what we do here is share knowledge, create knowledge, and ensure that knowledge is reused in the organization and on the project. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are 7 processes in integration, and I've only shown you 4. But each one of these processes has what we call inputs to the process, and outputs from the process, which is easy to understand. Develop Project Charter, for example, is the process where we have an output known as the project charter. Develop Project Management Plan is the process where we have an output known as the project management plan. Direct and manage project work has got a number of key outputs, but like I said, one of the key outputs is deliverables. Manage project knowledge has a key output, which is known as the lessons learned, register, and so on and so forth. And each process not only has inputs and outputs, they all have ways you work the process with tools and techniques. And that, my friends, constitutes a lot of what you will be studying for the PMP exam. But in addition to all this, there's a focus on people, there's a focus on other methods of project management, not just predictive or waterfall. There's also some focus on agile. And come July 1st, 2020, there will be a 50-50 split between predictive versus agile and hybrid. So it is important that you actually read your agile practice guide and go for a course where there is a robust breakdown of agile. So those are the knowledge areas. It's very easy to master this content when you're in the right hands. And like I said, I have trained this course all across the world to different audiences. Here's an image from my class at the United States Army Corps of Engineers in Arkansas. What are they doing on the table? Well, those cards represent a process. They are sorting processes. They are breaking them down into process groups and knowledge areas to better understand them. Here's a class from Pepperdine University. The three gentlemen you see on the screen are PMPs now. What are they doing? They are sorting processes to better understand them. So do not think that the PMP exam is beyond your tolerance for ambiguity or is so far beyond you. No, it's not. It was written and created by project managers just like you and me. What is the PMP exam? Well, the PMP exam is a 200 multiple choice question test. 25 are pre-test questions. In other words, they don't count. They are more like future questions that are used to glean information as far as if people can really answer them. The score is calculated based on the other 175 items. The passing score is currently undisclosed. It's a 4-hour exam. Now, it's currently undisclosed because it is not only secretive, but it's based on the Angoff cutoff technique. Google it, ANGOFF. It's like a sliding scale based on a psychometric analysis, and it is not a fixed score for the duration or the lifetime of the exam. Each item has a key, the correct answer. There are 3 distractors. So out of 4 options, 1 is the best. That's the one you want to choose. The results are immediate. The moment you hit end, within a few seconds, you will get your result. In my experience, it seemed like an eternity, but after a while, the screen came up with a congrats, you've passed the exam. It's a great feeling to have. PMI also evaluates proficiency levels in each project management process group, from high proficiency to low proficiency. Now, this term has been changed to target, below target, above target, and needs improvement. Let's take a look at how this is broken down in the typical exam report. The typical exam report will show you whether you are on target overall, above target, below, or needs improvement. In this example, you can see this student, fictitious student, is on target. It is not uncommon to have students, many of my students have had above target overall. Now, the result is further broken out into target, 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 as you can see on the screen, for these 3 areas, the first 3, initiating, planning, and executing. But monitoring and controlling for this student, you can see below target, and then in closing above target. And that is very realistic, taking a look at the overall target that this student achieved. So you do not have to get above target to pass. Target above, target in all the areas will get you to pass. Above target in all areas will get you to pass. A combination of above target and target will get you to pass. But the moment you begin introducing below target, it becomes risky because depending on how far target you are, that could make or break your exam. If you don't have a target band that is high enough, a below target could sink the ship. You might even see instances where students have above target, 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 and one horrible below target could sink the ship, depending on how much above target they are or where they lie on the band of target. Let me explain what this means. If you take a look at this fictitious student in the initiating process group, you can see that the scores or the results are broken out further. The PMI will give you this, broken out further into low, right there in the middle, medium, or high. if you got more lows and mediums than highs, even if you appeared target, that is not a very high target band. And it is possible to get target, but get the lower band of target, and that could come back to bite one if one gets any below target. So what I tell my students, regardless the domain, the process group, you want to make sure you hit home runs in all of them. You want to get above target in all of them. Now, it is possible. You just need to put some intentionality into your studying. If you're going for a PMP exam course, do some pre-course work. If you're going for a live classroom course, and make sure that you take your exam soon after your course so that you do not forget. There are many innovative ways, as you can see here, these students of mine from Pepperdine University playing a game of sorting ITTOs. Many innovative ways of studying, and you can create your own ways. But here are some study tips. One, understand the material first at a high level, understand the objectives of the PMBOK guide, take practice tests, do not cram, understand the formulas being used. If you're going for a live course, do the pre-course work. Do the pre-course work. It's so important, I said it twice. Focus on your weak areas, use flashcards, study with a colleague or study group. Understand why an answer is correct. Cramming doesn't help. Very minimally would it. Learn from your mistakes and put on your PMP thinking cap. People often say, does it cost money to maintain your PMP certification? A small fee is charged at the end of every 3 years, and you are expected to maintain your PMP qualification with 60 PDUs. But if you are a member of the PMI, you could get most or all of your PDUs for free. In addition to projectmanagement.com, PMI's sister site, you can get PDUs by researching project management, authoring articles, being engaged full-time in project management gets you some PDUs, attending courses and webinars and coaching and training others, and many more activities. But don't forget, hit like, hit subscribe, share this with your friends who have been wondering, how on earth do I get PMP certified? I'm hoping that these give you some guidelines. But wait, before you go, let's talk about the price. What does it cost to take the PMP exam? If you are not a member, $555. If you are a member, it's $405. However, there is a fee to be a member. The first year of membership will cost you $139. $139. The second year will be $129 because the admin fee will be taken off. I highly recommend being a member. Why? Because if you are a member of the PMI, you will get the Project Management Body of Knowledge Guide, PDF version, and the Agile Practice Guide, PDF version, for free. So why wouldn't you be a member? It makes sense. Instead of lugging those big old books around, you have them on PDF, just like I carry them everywhere on my phone. So be a member and download the PMBOK guide, the Agile Practice Guide, and just study them around the clock as much as you need to. In addition to this, you also get access to the webinars on projectmanagement.com for free. And I know people that got all their PDUs, professional development units, that's right, all 60 of them from projectmanagement.com. So I would highly advise you to be a member. It will pay off in the long run. So I hope this breakdown and this look at how to get certified has helped you frame what you're going to do next. But most importantly, don't lose my contact and download the handbook. I'm going to put a link somewhere below. Make sure you download it. And if you got any questions, let me know. I hope this helps you. Now, I understand time is of the essence. You might need to jump off this call right now. But for those who care to know further detail, I'm going to share with you really rapidly, lightning speed, I won't waste your time, the 49 processes of the PMBOK Guide, 6th edition. Now, typically, this would take a long time to go through, but I have my ways. Are you ready? Let's jump into them right now. The 49 processes of the PMBOK Guide. Let's start off with integration, the first knowledge area. The processes are: 1, develop project charter, which gives you a project charter. Develop project management plan, gives you a project management plan. Direct and manage project work, which gives you deliverables, the final product, service, or result, really. At the same time, it gives you something known as work performance data, raw observations about project progress, and it also gives you the issue log. The next process is manage project knowledge, which gives you lessons learned. Monitor and control project work, which gives you work performance reports. Perform integrated change control, where we approve or reject change requests. And close project or phase, where we transition the deliverable to the client. Scope management, the very first process is plan scope management. This is where we plan how do we manage our scope and our requirements. The next process is collect requirements. This is where we actually collect the requirements and document them. The next process is define scope. This is where we weed out the requirements and go with one specific set of requirements. And this is where we define how to accomplish those requirements on the project. We call it define scope. Create WBS is where we create the work breakdown structure. Just Google it, you'll see what it looks like. It looks like a family tree, but it's decomposing work to lower levels. The next one that we have here is actually validate scope. You don't see it, but it's validating scope. How is that done? The customer inspects the deliverable to validate the project scope. The last thing that we do in scope management is called control scope. So this one right here that is hidden is known as validate scope. And validate scope is where the stakeholders, the customer, the sponsor ensures that that product, service, or result is fit for use and conforms to requirements. Our next area is schedule management. We plan how to manage the schedule and how to develop it. Then we define our tasks to be done. We sequence them and put them in order. We estimate how long each task will take. And then we have our schedule. We call it develop schedule. And lastly, we ensure that the schedule is controlled. People are respecting the schedule and are following the schedule. The next area is cost management. We first want to plan how are we going to manage cost. Then we estimate cost for the granular activities on the project. Then we roll all that up into a final total. We call that determined budget. And then we ensure that the budget is being obeyed, is being followed over time. We call it control cost. The next area is quality. Planned quality management is where we identify standards, quality standards that need to be met on the project, in the product, as part of our processes. The next step is to manage quality. That's really code for quality assurance. We need to assure customers that quality standards are being met. And then the next step is to control quality. That is where we inspect the deliverable as the performing organization. This is different from validate scope that I just talked about, where your customer inspects. You inspect and control quality, the customer inspects and validate scope. The next area is resource management. We plan how are we going to acquire, manage, and lead our resources. And then we estimate how much resource do we need, the type, the quantity, and so on, be it physical or human. The next step is to acquire those resources, and then you develop the team, the humans working with you. You lead them, you manage the team structure. Finally, we control the physical resources, not the humans, the physical. The next knowledge area is communications management. We first plan, what are we going to communicate? Why? When? Remember the 5 W's I talked about? And then the next step is to manage communications by actually communicating. The next step is to monitor the communications to make sure they're going according to plan and our process is actually working for communicating. If it's not working, we change it. The next area is risk management. We plan how to manage risks. Then we identify the risks. Then we analyze them qualitatively, high, medium, low. We categorize the risks. We score them using a scale. We multiply the probability rating times the impact rating. We get a score. It helps us rank them. And then some companies go to the next level. They quantitatively analyze the risk by putting a dollar amount on the impact of the risks, a yen amount, a euro amount, whatever it is. They put a figure monetarily on the impact of those risks, or they use resource hours to identify the impact of the risk. They do it quantitatively. And when that's done, they understand the probability absolute in percentages. They factor all that in. Many of them use a Monte Carlo analysis to quantitatively analyze risk, and they better understand those risks that they absolutely need to keep their eyes on and tackle immediately versus those that they may not need to do anything immediate about. After quantitative risk analysis, the next step is to plan risk responses and then implement the responses and then monitor risks. Make sure that they are right where you left them, they haven't changed, they haven't gotten worse. If they have, if they've changed in any way, you want to update that. The next area is procurement management. You want to plan, do we need to buy anything from outside this company? Do we need to hire some staff from outside the firm for staff augmentation, maybe from a consulting firm? If you go ahead and make that decision to buy, you immediately begin thinking about contract types. You immediately begin thinking about source selection criteria, a bidder conference. And that takes us to the next process here, where we conduct procurements. We source out who to hire, we negotiate, we award a contract, and then we go into controlling procurements, which is managing the contract. The very final knowledge area, and I'll let you go after a while here, we're almost done. First, identify stakeholders. Ask the question, who could affect the project, positively or negatively? Who is interested in the project? And who could the project affect? When you get this information, you document it in the stakeholder register, you do other analyses, and then you move into planning stakeholder engagement. How do we engage the stakeholder? And the next step is you manage stakeholder engagement. And lastly, you monitor stakeholder engagement. Manage stakeholder engagement is where you actually engage the stakeholder. You're communicating with them, you're working with them, but monitor stakeholder engagement is where you ask the question, are we engaging our stakeholder properly? Are they clueless? Are they in a leading role? Are they in a supportive role? Are they neutral? Are they really where we want them to be? Are things working? If the answer is no, you do something differently. Going deeper into the lens, I told you every process has inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. And that, my friend, is the end of the story for now. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if you haven't hit like, you haven't subscribed, please do so. I'd like to engage you in more dialogue about project management, even if you don't want to take the PMP exam. Perhaps you've got knowledge and wisdom in project management that others can benefit from. So how about dropping some down below? My colleagues and friends from other countries and other project management sectors such as Prince 2, Scrum, the world of Agile. What do you think about all this? Drop me a candid comment below if you've ever found use in predictive project management, in a blend of predictive and agile. I'd like to know, maybe use Kanban. What do you think about all this? Drop a comment below, and thanks for sticking with me up till now. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.